You keep waiting for someone to show up and fix your life. A mentor, a friend, a breakthrough, a lucky opportunity. Let me tell you something straight, nobody is coming to help you. Nobody is coming to wake you up at 4 a.m. Nobody is coming to drag you to the gym. Nobody is coming to force you to chase your potential. You are sitting there hoping for rescue while your dreams are dying quietly in the background. That's the truth. And it's not meant to hurt you. It's meant to free you. You want a different body? Build it. You want a stronger mind? Train it. You want success? Earn it. Stop looking around for sympathy and start looking in the mirror for responsibility. The world does not owe you understanding. It does not owe you motivation. It does not owe you comfort. The moment you realize that nobody is coming to save you is the moment you take your power back. That's when you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your life. If this hits you, don't just sit there. Like the video right now. Subscribe if you're ready to take ownership of your life, and comment below where you're watching from. I want to know who's done waiting and ready to work. Now let's get real. You have to understand something at a deep level. Radical self. Responsibility is not a motivational phrase. It's a lifestyle. It means you stop blaming your past, your parents, your boss, your genetics, your circumstances. It means you stop pointing outward and start looking inward. Not because everything is your fault, but because everything is your responsibility now. There's a difference. Fault is about the past. Responsibility is about the present. Life is not fair. Some people start ahead. Some people start behind. Some are born into support. Others are born into chaos. You may have experienced trauma. You may have been doubted. You may have been overlooked. All of that can be true. But if you keep carrying it as an excuse for inaction, you give it power over your future. Radical responsibility says, it happened. I'm still moving. It does not deny pain. It refuses to be defined by it. When you adopt this mindset, complaining becomes useless. You realize that every complaint is energy wasted, energy that could be used to build, to train, to learn, to improve. Complaining feels relieving in the moment, but it reinforces helplessness. Responsibility feels heavy at first, but it builds strength. It shifts your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. And that shift changes everything. You control your effort. You control your attitude. You control your response. That's it. You don't control outcomes fully. You don't control other people's opinions. You don't control timing, but you always control your standards. And when your standards are high, your behavior aligns. Radical self-responsibility is holding yourself to a standard even when no one else is watching. It's easy to be disciplined when people are supporting you. It's easy to work hard when someone is praising you. The real test is when you're alone, when no one checks on your progress, when no one cares if you skip. That's where responsibility shows. You get up because you said you would. You train because you committed. You study because your future depends on it, not because someone reminded you. This mindset removes entitlement. You stop expecting applause for basic effort. You stop thinking you deserve results without the work. You understand that respect is earned, not granted. Confidence is built, not given. Opportunity is created, not waited for. That understanding humbles you and sharpens you at the same time. Radical responsibility also means owning your mistakes quickly. No excuses. No shifting blame. If you missed the deadline, own it. If you failed the test, own it. If you fell off your routine, own it. Ownership shortens recovery time. The longer you defend your ego, the longer you delay growth. When you say, that's on me, you regain control. Because if it's on you, you can fix it. There is peace in responsibility. It might not feel like it at first, but there is. When you stop waiting for rescue, you stop being disappointed. You stop expecting others to carry your weight. You accept that the load is yours, and once you accept that, you start training for it. You get stronger because you know you must. That clarity eliminates confusion. You also become more resilient. When setbacks happen, and they will, you don't crumble. You assess. You adjust. You continue. You don't waste weeks in self-pity. You don't spiral into blame. You ask one question, what can I do now? That forward Focused mindset builds momentum even in adversity. My responsibility sharpens your awareness. You start noticing your habits, your sleep patterns, your distractions, your excuses. You realize how often you've been sabotaging yourself quietly, not in dramatic ways, but in small daily compromises. 10 extra minutes scrolling, skipping one workout, postponing one task. Those small decisions accumulate, and when you take responsibility, you correct them early. This mindset does not mean you never ask for help. It means you don't rely on it as a crutch. You seek guidance to improve, not to avoid effort. You collaborate without surrendering ownership. At the end of the day, the work is still yours. The discipline is still yours. The execution is still yours. Radical self-responsibility builds self-trust. When you know you won't abandon yourself, your confidence grows. When you know you will show up regardless of circumstances, fear loses power. You become steady, reliable, grounded, not because life got easier, but because you stopped outsourcing your strength. There will be moments when the weight feels unfair, moments when you wish someone would step in and lighten the load. In those moments, breathe. Remind yourself that this is your training ground. Every responsibility you carry builds capacity. Every challenge you handle expands your threshold. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. As you continue living this way, your identity shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone who needs saving. You see yourself as someone capable of building, adapting, enduring. That identity influences your decisions. It raises your standards. It eliminates hesitation. You stop asking, who will help me? And start asking, what must I do next? Over time, this approach transforms your life quietly. You become the person others rely on because you first became someone you could rely on. You become disciplined because you demanded it from yourself. You become strong because you carried your own weight consistently. And through that process, you develop an unshakable foundation built on ownership and accountability and personal standards and daily execution and honest self-assessment and calm correction and relentless forward movement. And a deep one is appreciating that while understanding and mentorship is power candidate for you monitor your ensure your success, your recovery, your habits, your intensity, and will ultimately will always remain entirely in your hands. And we will in your results Ben will with words forward. That sentence sounds simple, but it cuts deep. Because if you're honest, a part of you is still waiting for the right mentor, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for someone to finally recognize your potential and give you a chance, waiting for life to slow down so you can focus, waiting for support, approval, validation. And while you wait, time keeps moving. Days turn into months, months turn into years. Potential stays potential. Waiting feels safe. When you wait, you don't risk failure. When you wait, you don't expose yourself to judgment. When you wait, you can always say, I would have, if that becomes your shield. But it also becomes your prison, because the longer you wait for external rescue, the weaker your internal drive becomes. You slowly convince yourself that progress depends on something outside of you. My rescue is an illusion. Even when someone helps you, you still have to do the work. A coach can guide you, but you have to train. A teacher can explain, but you have to study. A friend can encourage, but you have to act. No one can breathe for you. No one can endure discomfort for you. No one can build your discipline for you. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you become dangerous in the right way. When you stop waiting for rescue, your mindset shifts from passive to active. You stop asking, why hasn't this happened for me? And start asking, what can I build today? That shift gives you energy back, because now you're not stuck in expectation. You're in execution. You're not watching the door, hoping someone walks in to change your life. You're building your own door. There's a quiet maturity in this realization. You stop blaming the system. You stop blaming the economy. You stop blaming your background. Not because those things don't matter, but because you understand they are variables you cannot fully control. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you focus on what's available. Your time, your body, your mind, your effort. That's enough to start. Waiting for rescue often hides behind the phrase, I need more. more money, more information, more confidence, more connections, more clarity. But clarity comes from action. Confidence comes from repetition. Connections come from showing up consistently. Momentum creates resources. Action creates learning. The very things you're waiting for are built by the work you're postponing. There will never be a perfect moment where everything aligns. There will always be responsibilities. There will always be distractions. There will always be uncertainty. If you tie your progress to ideal conditions, you surrender control. Growth happens in imperfect environments. Strength is built in chaos. Focus is sharpened through noise. If you can execute in less than ideal conditions, you become adaptable, and adaptability is power. Stopping the wait also means letting go of the fantasy that someone will understand your struggle deeply enough to carry you through it. People may care. They may support you, but they cannot feel your urgency the way you can. They cannot want your dream more than you do. If your drive depends on external pressure, it will disappear when that pressure does. When you fully accept that nobody is coming, something changes inside you. The excuses lose their comfort. The delays lose their justification, because now you understand that every day you waste is a day you chose to waste. That awareness can feel heavy at first, but it is freeing. It removes false hope and replaces it with personal agency. Agency means you act even when you don't feel ready. You start small if necessary, but you start. You read one page, you make one call, you take one step, you stop building the perfect plan in your head and start building experience in reality. Small actions break the waiting cycle. They prove that movement is possible without permission. There is also courage in releasing the need for approval. Sometimes you wait because you want someone to validate your path. You want confirmation that you're doing the right thing, but not all paths come with applause at the beginning. Some come with doubt. Some come with silence. If you need everyone to agree before you move, you will move slowly. When you trust your direction and act anyway, you accelerate. Stopping the wait is not about isolation. It's about ownership. You can still learn from others. You can still collaborate, but you do it from a place of strength, not dependency. You seek advice to sharpen your edge, not to replace your effort. You ask for insight, not rescue. There will be moments when loneliness creeps in, when you realize the weight truly is yours. In those moments, stay calm, breathe. Remind yourself that carrying your own weight builds muscle, emotional muscle, mental muscle, spiritual muscle. Each time you choose to stand up without being lifted, you grow stronger. You also develop urgency, not panic, not stress, but clarity about time. Time does not pause while you hesitate. It moves forward quietly. Each sunrise is an opportunity. Each sunset is a checkpoint. When you stop waiting, you begin to respect time differently. You treat your hours as tools instead of distractions. Over time, your identity transforms. You no longer see yourself as someone waiting for opportunity. You see yourself as someone creating it. You no longer look around for permission. You look within for discipline. You no longer depend on external motivation. You rely on internal standards. The world may still be unfair. Obstacles will still appear. People may still doubt you. But your response changes. Instead of saying, "It will help me," you say, "What is my next move?" Instead of saying, "I hope someone notices," you say, "I will make progress regardless." That mindset builds quiet confidence. And eventually, you reach a point where even if help does arrive, you don't need it to survive. You welcome support, but you don't depend on it. You collaborate. You don't collapse without it. You move forward steadily, knowing that whether people show up or not, whether circumstances improve or not, whether recognition comes or not, you will continue to act with intention and discipline and focus and resilience and responsibility and consistency and ownership and clarity and self-trust and internal drive and a calm refusal to sit still waiting for a rescue that was never coming in the first place. Build yourself in silence, not for applause, not fair or validation, not for recognition, but because the process itself demands focus. In a world where everyone wants to broadcast their grind, there is power in quiet improvement. There is strength in working when no one is watching, in progressing without announcing it, in sharpening your edge without needing the world to clap for every step. Silence removes pressure. When you stop telling everyone what you're about to do, you remove the need to perform. You remove the temptation to look productive instead of being productive. Talking about goals can feel satisfying. It creates a temporary sense of achievement, but real growth happens in execution, not in explanation. The more you speak about what you will do, the less urgency you sometimes feel to actually do it. When you build in silence, your energy stays directed inward. You are not managing opinions. You are not defending your vision. You are not responding to doubt. You are simply working. That focus creates depth. You go further because you are not distracted by external noise. You refine skills because your attention is not split between performance and progress. Silence also protects your confidence in its early stages. When a goal is new, it is fragile. When a habit is forming, it is vulnerable. Too much exposure too soon can invite doubt, criticism, or even subtle discouragement. Not everyone will understand your direction. Not everyone will see your potential, and that's fine. They don't have to. Your responsibility is to nurture your growth until it becomes undeniable. Building yourself quietly teaches patience. There are no immediate rewards, no public praise, just repetition. Just small improvements stacking day after day. That patience strengthens your character. You learn to value delayed gratification. You learn to appreciate subtle progress. You stop chasing instant results and start respecting long-term transformation. There is something grounding about working in silence. Early mornings with no announcements. Late nights with no updates. Just you and the task. In those moments, you meet yourself honestly. You see your weaknesses clearly. You confront your distractions directly. You cannot hide behind image. You cannot rely on reputation. You either execute or you don't. Silence forces accountability. When no one knows your schedule, you cannot perform for them. You either keep your promise to yourself or you break it. That internal accountability builds integrity. Integrity is doing what you said you would do, even when no one checks. Over time, that integrity becomes part of your identity. You become someone who can be trusted first by yourself. The world is loud. Opinions are constant. Social media amplifies everything. It creates pressure to show progress instantly. But real mastery takes time. Real strength takes repetition. Real discipline takes consistency. When you build in silence, you resist the urge to compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. You stay in your lane. You stay committed to your timeline. Silence also builds humility. When you are not constantly broadcasting your achievements, you remain grounded. You remember that there is always more to learn. You stay open to improvement. You let your results speak instead of your words. That humility keeps you sharp. It prevents complacency. There will be moments when you feel invisible, when you wonder if your effort matters because no one sees it. In those moments, remind yourself the foundation of a building is invisible too, yet it carries the entire structure. Your quiet work is foundation work. It strengthens you in ways that attention never could. When you build yourself in silence, you become less dependent on validation. You stop needing others to confirm your worth. You find satisfaction in execution itself. You begin to enjoy the discipline. The repetition becomes familiar. The structure becomes comforting. You develop an internal scoreboard. Instead of chasing external approval, silence sharpens your focus on skill. Instead of curating an image, you refine ability. Instead of talking about discipline, you practice it. Instead of explaining your goals, you pursue them. That depth of focus leads to real competence. And competence builds unshakable confidence. Not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence. Quiet confidence. Over time, people will notice the change, not because you announced it, but because it shows your posture changes, your habits change, your results change, your reactions change. When challenges appear, you handle them calmly. When opportunities arise, you are prepared. That preparation was built in private. Building in silence also protects your energy from negativity. Not everyone will support your ambition. Some will project their fears onto you. Some will question your direction. If you expose every step of your journey, you invite every opinion. When you move quietly, You minimize interference. You stay centered. There is discipline and restraint. The restraint not to boast. The restraint not to overshare. The restraint to let the work mature before revealing it. That restraint builds mental control. It strengthens your ability to delay gratification. It keeps your focus on what matters. Silence is not secrecy out of fear. It is strategy out of wisdom. You are not hiding. You are preparing. You are refining. You are constructing something solid enough to withstand scrutiny. When it is ready, it will speak for itself. As you continue this approach, your relationship with progress changes. You no longer chase quick wins for attention. You chase sustainable growth for transformation. You measure success by consistency, not visibility. You define achievement by execution, not applause. Eventually, you become comfortable with the quiet, comfortable with the grind that no one sees, comfortable with the steady climb that others may not understand. You realize that the strongest versions of people are often built away from the spotlight, and when the moment comes for your work to be seen, it carries weight because it was not rushed, it was not forced, it was not inflated. It was developed through steady repetition and disciplined focus and patient refinement and honest self-assessment and consistent execution and quiet correction and intentional learning and calm persistence and unwavering commitment to growth with a need for noise or validation or attention or applause or validation or constant acknowledgement from the outside world at the end of the day. From the outside world at the end of the day. This is your life and your responsibility. And the moment you stop waiting, stop announcing, and stop making excuses is the moment you start becoming unstoppable. So walk away from this with one decision, take ownership, move in silence, and execute daily without needing recognition, because the results you build in private will eventually speak louder than anything you could ever say